Update. I 20th learned that my mother, 43F, is not my dad's child, and that she had a secret child. Original post. My own mother and grandma are currently trying to bribe me to keep silent, because the issue is seriously upsetting my mental stability. The four of us that I knew existed, up until a few days ago, were me, 20F, Eddie, 20ME, my twin brother, and two older half-siblings, Reuben, 24, and Grace, 23F. Grace is my dad's 45 first child, and Reuben is my mom's first. My mom moved in with our grandma on my mom's side for a bit to assist and care for her after she was diagnosed with cancer about 2 years ago. My grandma lives halfway across the nation, so we didn't get to see her at all during this period. Furthermore, at the time, nobody could go visit Reuben because he was residing with his dad in England, and my brother and I were preoccupied with last year's school examinations. Not even the father, who was too preoccupied with his own work to see his wife. After spending a total of 6 months away, Mom returned a different person. She would be all over my brother and me all the time and appeared really depressed. I figured she had simply missed us throughout her absence. After 2 years, I accidentally knocked over my mother's handbag while doing some housework when I was home, and everything came out. I cleaned up, of course, but there was a picture of my mother holding a newborn in a hospital bed sticking out of her wallet. It was dated from the period she was abroad with my grand. At first I was perplexed and assumed maybe it was her with me or one of my brothers as babies. When I finally confronted my mother about it, she initially froze, but I wouldn't let her try to brush me off and change the topic. By the time she disappeared, I was curious as to why she was in the hospital bed with a baby. I assured her that I would show Dad, or she would tell me. She broke down in tears and told me everything at that point. She had an extramarital affair with a man other than my father. She began seeing someone in 2018, got married in 2019, delivered birth in the first half of 2020. Their brother is a newborn. Nobody knew that she was hiding her baby from them. Knowing my grandpa filled in for her, she lied about the operations and never had cancer. I mean, how could I be that dumb? I'm furious with her. When I questioned her about the pregnancy and the other men, she told me that she went to her fair partner's house on the other end of town instead of my grandma's to give birth, and she never left. Even worse, the partner in the affair was 24 years old at the time and had 2 children already, but at least he was unmarried. Throughout her pregnancy, she lived with her partner in an affair and his children, leaving the baby with him. I searched him up and asked more questions. I know this dude. I didn't even realize he was the kid of a family friend until I saw him out and about in town with my little brother. Ever since learning all of this, I have not been doing well. My mom constantly tries to talk to me, but I keep preventing her from talking to me by locking her out of the room or avoiding her around my dad. When she does get an opportunity to speak with me, she tries everything to silence me, including offering me money or shopping sprees as bribes. My grandma even tried to guilt trip me because of it. I have no idea what to do. Does anyone know anything about this kind of thing? Can they provide me any advice? Should I ask this man how my brother is doing? Should I inform my father? I have no idea whether she's still having an affair or even whether she's still involved with my brother. Here's the best advice to follow before reading the first update. If you decide not to tell your dad, this will ruin your family. You will become internally consumed by it, hating your mother and pulling away from her. Your dad will probably freak out and abandon her if you tell him. Your mother is the worst, really. Everything that comes her way, she deserves it all. She had a freaking child, cheated on your dad, and told lies to everyone about it. To make matters worse, the individual she had an affair with is a family friend. That being said, she's a very awful person. A post regarding a man with 3 daughters who knew his childhood sweetheart was having an affair, but chose not to tell him, was made on one of the infidelity support subs. To be honest, they took money from their mother to keep it a secret from him. It broke him to learn that they were aware of it. Inform your dad. It will ruin your parents' union, but please don't betray him as well. Furthermore, you are not the ones causing harm to your family. Your mother did that by sleeping with a 24-year-old after having an affair and having a child with him. My advice would be to approach this as though you were your father. Would you be interested in learning more? If so, that ought to address every question. It would have been terrible enough, but acceptable if she had simply gone and lived with Gran, gave birth, then adopted the child and returned home. She erred by becoming pregnant and handled the situation. Okay, so maybe Dad should still get over her. Rather, she moved in with him after leaving. She up and left you and your dad to live with him, and let's be honest, hook up all the time, like, for months. In particular, there was no fear of another kid. They had undoubtedly discussed the possibility of making it work, but had failed to do so. Actually, she spent months away from her dad with another man, only coming back after that didn't work. Worse, she can always see the baby because it's still close by. The child, thanks to 23andMe and Ancestry, will eventually find out who his real mother is. Tell your dad to tear off the Band-Aid. Mom got hitched by mistake. It wasn't just an affair. She moved in with a lover, slept with him all the time, and then attempted to return to her previous life as if nothing had occurred. Simply no. First, an update. I followed the advice of friends I spoke with and those who DM'd me to tell my dad, so I did. Even after I showed him the photo of my mom with my secret little brother and presented the texts my mom and Gran sent me as evidence, he first remained totally in denial. Not even after my uncle passed away a few years back had I ever seen him cry. He never cried in my eyes. When my mom finally got home, my dad yelled and screamed at her. It was terrible. My half-sister and my mother got into a physical altercation after I revealed everything to my siblings. I feel bad for stating all of this, since he, 26 non, was the son of one of my mom's best friends who was already a parent. My mom's friend group kind of abandoned her when it became known who her affair partner was. Mom has since moved in with my grandma. Neither of my brothers is speaking to her. I wish I could simply return to being ignorant of all of this. My family will never fully recover, in my opinion. My older half-brother is determined to stay in England, where he was visiting. My brother is also not talking to Mom because he is upset with her. Mom is upset, blaming me but wanting a chat. And Dad is just crying and says he is going to hire a cunning lawyer to divorce her. She is determined not to lose any more of her kids. This is completely not your fault. Your mother betrayed your father and family willingly and voluntarily when she was an adult. She had the option to stop before becoming pregnant at any time, but she chose not to. When you betray someone's affection and trust, this is what occurs. Yes, she was crazy, but she had a love child with a male. Her own admission of guilt and regret for Opie demonstrates her level of repentance. She doesn't care that she destroyed her family. Instead, she is placing the blame on Opie. To hide her affair and pregnancy, she had her mother pretend to be abroad while fabricating a cancer diagnosis. She had been seeing him all along. I'm not sure why she returned, but it's likely because she anticipated being despised for her actions and losing her secure family home. In addition, she is a real creep because she slept with her friend's son. She is deserving of receiving everything. I concur. She decided to conceive while cheating on Opie's father. She is really naive to hold Opie responsible for her decisions. You made the correct decision. Your father was a kind man, a devoted spouse, and a loving father. However, what your mother did was heinous. And the only thing worse than having a kid's affair in secret at the edge of town would be fooling your father into believing the child was his and rearing it as a result. It is important to expose such behaviors, and your father should have known the whole truth about the woman he believed he knew. Yes, it created a rift, but it was necessary. There is a bright side to the situation. After the divorce, she can just hook up with her boy toy and take care of his 2 children and toddler, since all of your original siblings are grown, and there will be no child support to worry about. After all, she still gets a family. It wasn't your fault. This was only going to surface at some point. And the truth is, you would be rejected by society for having assisted your mother in hiding it for 2 decades if it became public 20 years later. At which point, A child would have had the opportunity to learn the truth for themselves through a DNA test. Cutting the schedule short was a wise move. Here's the final update. Hi everyone, it's me again. I thought I'd make one final post because a lot has happened since my last one. I believe, and I hope, that this is coming to an end. Not long after learning about the baby, my dad filed for divorce from my mother and father. Mom attempted to talk him out of it, but that was all nonsense. My half-sister still despises her and doesn't feel bad about assaulting my mother, and my brother still won't talk to her. And I still feel bad about causing all of this, not nearly as much as I did, but not by much either. My dad was interested in hearing her affair partner's side of the story, so I accompanied him to hear it from him as well, and to calm my dad down in case he became aggressive. He appeared to be anticipating this to happen when we arrived at his door. While there, I had the opportunity to meet and spend time with my younger brother. It turns out that although my mom's affair partner wanted to be involved in his child's life and would reveal their affair, she had originally intended to pass off the baby as my dad's. My baby brother has pure black hair and an olive skin tone like his dad, so Mom's plan would never have succeeded. The baby clearly looks nothing like my dad or Mom, who are both pale with blonde hair. Now, for the affair part, our partner in the affair informed us that our mother had told him our parents were in an open marriage, sort of a don't ask, don't tell situation. He believed her, and only discovered after that Mom was pregnant that she had been lying. Additionally, he showed us their exchanged texts, which confirmed his opinion that meeting up with my mom for hookups was acceptable. On his guy's couch, my dad started crying, and this man held him. Whenever they would encounter each other around town or at friends' barbecues, this man had felt terrible about lying to my dad's face, but he didn't want to destroy our family. Then, because my mom is currently attempting to extract as much information from him as possible, he gave screenshots of their texts to my dad, who could use them against her in court. My mom and I still don't get along well. Whenever she attempts to put the blame on me, I tell her that I will be putting some distance between us and that this was all her fault. She begged me not to, but I did exactly what my brothers did. I blocked her. Since then, I've returned to college and organized a trip to Jamaica with my sister to see her grandmother. That's all I have to look forward to these days then. Edit. My siblings and I, along with our ethnic backgrounds, have caused some confusion among certain people over who is who in my family. The biological children of my parents, my twin brother and I, are both extremely fair-haired Americans. My mom's first child, the older half-brother, is currently living with his father in England. My dad's first child with a Jamaican woman, who passed away when my sister was a young girl, is the older half-sister. Mom's baby half-brother, who was of Italian and Native American blood, was the child of her affair partner. My parents are both blonde, with light complexion and blue eyes. Whoa, your mother really wrecked her life, and to be honest, she deserves it now. This is all her fault because she cheated, lied, and manipulated. For the remainder of your life, that would keep her blocked. It is imperative that she understands that her actions have lifelong effects. Really, Guy, I can't believe how narcissistic she is about this whole thing. Goodbye. If you allow her back into your life, she will wreck it. What really got it for me was the plot to pose as Opie's father and hand the kid off. What total garbage of a person. That seems to be the worst thing someone could ever do to someone they should adore. I understand, dude. This woman is really troubled. I'm relieved that Opie and his family choose to stop communicating. Essentially, this marks the end of her. She destroyed everything that mattered to her, and now she is unpopular with everyone. Not sure how I hadn't heard of this tale before, but my, what an incredible adventure. Since a child delivered to your mom when they are married is usually legally believed to be your dad's, not the other guy's. I hope your dad has an excellent attorney. The birth certificate most certainly lists the biological father as having sole custody of the child because she was away at her mother's when the child was born. Since he isn't officially Opie's father, I fail to see how his father could be held accountable. Paternity was undoubtedly previously proven. Putative father laws, sadly, still exist in many jurisdictions, which means Opie's father may be held accountable even if it's not his child. It doesn't matter where she was when the child was born. What counts is that the law stipulates that the spouse is legally liable as the father, even if he can prove he is not the father, if they were married, planning to get married, or within a specified amount of time after a divorce. It doesn't matter. A putative father is, broadly speaking, a guy who is claimed to be the biological father of a child born to a woman he was not married to at the time, but who hasn't officially established a relationship with. Generally speaking, if one of the following scenarios holds true, a man may be assumed to be the biological father of a child. He and the child's mother are or were married, and the child is born during the marriage or within 300 days after the marriage is ended. He and the child's mother attempted to marry before the child was born, and the marriage is or could be declared invalid, and the child is born during the marriage or within 300 days after the marriage is terminated. Sadly, these outdated regulations are still in effect, despite DNA testing's ability to show otherwise. In Alaska, a husband is automatically regarded as the child's legal father if the child is born while the mother is married. This applies even in cases where the true father signs the birth certificate. This is known as the Alaska presumed father practice. It's yours if you are or were married.